Hi everybody, this is Blue Phoenix. Some people like to call me Eric. Once again, another awesome day here in Kentucky. Today's topic, I'll be talking about Grey-Romanticism. So Grey-Romanticism is kind of this umbrella term where you're somewhere between aromantic, which is you have completely no romantic feelings at all, romantic attraction, and aromantic, which is how we describe just how the normal, usual person, well, I hate to use the word normal, the majority of people feel romantic attraction. After some recent thinking about this, my own label, I've been considering that more and more. I feel like I'm probably actually gray romantic. I have felt a crush in my life, and so that kind of disqualifies me from aromantic. It's not fair for me to continue using that label when that should be reserved for people who really have just never felt a crush in their life, never felt any romantic attraction at all. So I'm going to kind of go over some of the signs of gray romanticism, or what it is. It is a bit of a nebulous term, and it includes other types of romanticism within it, like lith romanticism, and it's called WTF romanticism. But some of the signs of being gray romantic would be you feel a crush, but you really have no desire or no drive towards a romantic relationship with that person. Maybe you're too nervous to ask that person out. You just don't feel the drive to do so. Or maybe you have asked them out and asked them out on a date, and they've turned you down, and you said, "Oh, good." That's kind of how it was in my case. It's like, great, I'm off the hook. Conversely, perhaps you feel a desire for a romantic relationship, but you never seem to get any crushes, or nobody interests you in that way. So you've got, maybe someday you want to get married, but you just never have met anybody who made you feel that way. Made you actually interested in them. It may be that the romantic attraction you feel is just less intense than it is for alloromantics. So you're getting kind of just this weaker dose of it, where maybe your feelings there's less intense, and the way you hear alloromantic people describe romantic attraction just seems a lot more colorful, or a lot more puffed up than the way you're experiencing it. Perhaps crushes are really rare for you. I know that's the case for me. I had my first, I guess you would say, real crush when I was like 34, 35 years old. I can tell because looking back on the experience, I was a lot more obsessed with this person, wanted to be around them. And it just made all the other ways I felt about other people romantically in my life just pale in comparison. So it was definitely a much stronger feeling that I had. I've felt similar things for other people before, but not nearly as intense. So my first crush would be around 34 or 35 years old, and maybe my only crush. So yes, very rare for me. You may be gray romantic if you're not sure about if your feelings are romantic, or if they're platonic, or they're just something else. People who call themselves WTF romantic, sometimes they'll use that as an explanation for how they feel. WTF romanticism is maybe a topic for another video, but basically it's somebody who feels like romantic orientation doesn't apply to them at all. So being confused about your feelings is one way that could lead you to that. Or maybe under certain conditions, it fades entirely. For example, lith romanticism is where you completely lose all romantic attraction once it's reciprocated to you. That kind of falls under the gray romantic umbrella. Perhaps your feelings towards romance fluctuates between aversion and desire or acceptance. So one day you'll wake up and you think, oh, I really don't like romance at all. I don't like to see it in fiction. I don't like to see public displays of affection. Just yuck. Then the next day you're all lovey-dovey and you're reading a romantic novel and you find yourself a boyfriend or girlfriend. Then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh no, this is terrible. It may also be that you have a constant analysis of your past feelings. You're always going back and thinking, well, was that feeling really romantic, or was it platonic? Was it something else? Personally, it's really hard to describe this, but if you have a crush for somebody, you just kind of know it. You start to get obsessed over them. You start to think about them a lot. You want to talk to them more. So anyway, it's very easy to understand that if you've never felt that before, you could be questioning about whether your feelings really are romantic or whether they're not romantic. Maybe your experiences feel like some odd mixture between aromanticism and alloromanticism, but it doesn't really fit either. So kind of hard to describe it. You read about aromanticism, you read about romantic people, romantic feelings, and you feel like you're somewhere in between, but not really on the scale at all somehow. So that's another way you might be experiencing gray romanticism. Gray romanticism is getting hard to say. You may also feel that romantic attraction isn't all that important, or you're not sure of the importance of it. People talk about how it's the greatest thing in the world, but for you, you're not really sure why that is or why it's so important. Finally, it could also be uncertainty around a past trauma or experience. You think that maybe just you feel this way because of a bad breakup, and it's confusing you a lot versus whether this is actually your true nature. Maybe this is just how you experience romantic attraction or don't experience it. And so this uncertainty can really cause even more confusion about your experiences and whether they're romantic or not. So for me personally, I have felt like this one crush in my lifetime. I had asked her out. She turned me down. I said, okay, great. I felt more relief than sadness there. And that was part of the reason part of my experiences, it really made me question about, why is it? I think most people would be really disappointed by this. Why do I feel actually kind of happy? I was glad I tried. I was glad I asked, but I felt relief more than anything. So why is that? Maybe there's something different about me, and that kind of got me thinking about all this asexuality and aromanticism. But just to describe how the crush felt, it was kind of like I just wanted to get to know her better. I wanted to talk to her. I would think about her quite a bit, even though she wasn't around. And I could even maybe picture a long-term relationship with her, but it seemed like when the chips were on the table, I wasn't really interested after all. So it was a really strange mixture, and I think that's one way of describing gray romanticism. And there are, of course, many more. So if you'd like to leave a comment below your experiences with gray romanticism, I'd like to hear from you. And I hope to catch you next time. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.